So I'm going through a weird process, and I feel like in some ways it's gotten harder. And the difficulty of it doesn't feel like the same kind as before. It feels somehow different. It feels like a containment. Um, feels like a lot of pressure on my chest. Feels like a sense of loss. And I feel a lot of the firepower that I had earlier this year is a lot more tame, which I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing, to be honest. I think my body's still exhausted. I think my mind, my emotions are still exhausted. So there's definitely a need for recuperation. And um, I feel like this is a potential turning point where I could either go backwards or forwards. Yeah, I'm trying to find the right words to say all this. The energy just, it just feels different. It just feels like um, there's this massive amount of pressure in my chest, and almost a sense of hollowness in the rest of me. There's a sense that some kind of zest is gone. There's a sense that some kind of switch turned off inside me. A sense of aliveness turned off, or it's blocked. I know there's a need for balance. I'm recognizing that. Especially today. I haven't really meditated much, and I just did a brief meditation today, and it felt needed. Yeah, I've done a lot of praying this year, but this today um, just felt like a good idea to engage my subconscious and get into more of a state of allowing. Yeah, there's an obstruction. It feels like a pretty big one. And think there's a learning of how to balance the yin with the yang too. This sort of active striving force with a more receptive energy. See, I don't know where I'm really going with this. With prior videos, I felt there was something calling me. There was a clear indicator. And now I'm just like, what's going on? Where am I? The indicator's still there, but it's just blocked. It's just, there's this force here. There's something blocking it. This weight. It's like pushing me down. Not just pushing me down, but there's something shutting me down. Cognitively, emotionally, energetically, there's something shutting me down. I almost feel like I have to like rip it open. It feels there's an energy that's missing. There's an aspect of myself that I'm not finding in this moment. It's there's a strength there that feels more elusive right now. Even when it was really difficult, I felt like I had this strength and this clarity and this conviction that was moving me forward, and I went through so many obstacles and kept going. And this feels different. But maybe all that stuff is still there, and it's just being covered up. Maybe I just have to rip whatever is covering this up away somehow. And then I feel like my ego is kicking in more. When you have a highest aim and you're focused on it, and that's what your energy is being channeled into, and it just brings crystal clarity to your sense of purpose. It gives you power, and gives you power against your ego too. It's like it focuses things, and so the ego's distractions and nonsense and vanity and stuff, that stuff just starts to subside. It's still there, and it can still get activated, but it's less important, because this thing that you're pouring yourself into, that you're dedicating yourself to, is the most important thing. There's power in that. It's a power that others feel around you too. People sense when someone is on point with their highest calling. People feel it. There's an energy that you give off, and things do align more in your reality when you're focused on that, when you're not distracted, when you're not giving into fear. And being that focused is what elicits those fears, those challenges to come up in your reality, because you won't be able to move forward without confronting those fears. So just by following that is going to shift things, shake things up, make those fear-inducing situations manifest, because you're going to have to face them. And there's a magic in that. It rattles things. It keeps you from being stagnant. So there's actually something really beautiful about that. If challenge is coming up, if your world is being shaken, it's a blessing. It's difficult. Sometimes it even makes you feel like you just want to give up. But truly, it's far better to have that than to just have a stagnant life, staying in your comfort zone. Because that's just confinement. That's not truly living. That's, especially when you've had a taste of what it's like to be outside of that, outside of the loop. Going back to that, it's not living. It's a drudge. And if you know better, then it's that much harder and that much more painful to kind of fit yourself into that mold again. You can't really do it. You can't do it without feeling some noticeable sense of discomfort. So it's a beautiful thing when your world gets shaken up, even if it's happening repeatedly, even if it's happening every fucking day. What I'm learning is you have to also make room for grounding and centering, for taking care of yourself. But you have to also stay dedicated. You have to stay focused on what your highest aim is. Because as soon as you lose that, you lose your fire, you lose your power. If you found your highest aim, then to give yourself any excuse to not follow it is to defeat yourself, is to keep yourself stuck. And for me, I have 3 highest aims. All relatively equal, but there is one that's the highest. But they're pretty close together. So I guess there's a blessing in that it gives me some more flexibility, maybe. But when pain comes up as a blockage, I find that pain and discomfort usually are doing one of 2 things. In some cases, they're telling you you're out of alignment and pointing you where to go to get back into alignment. or at the very least pointing you away from where you are so you can get back into alignment. And then there's pain that's unprocessed emotion that's packed up and has no flow. And I suppose this feels like that. It feels like it's packed up emotion. There's no flow there. Something just needs to get out, be released. I suppose there's a third type of pain that is more like an abyss. I'm not even sure if it's really pain so much as fear. But there are certain things that we're afraid of that we have to go into in order to pass through where we're stuck. Like a hidden doorway. There's probably one of those that I have to face too. That I really don't want to face. But I'd rather face it than be stuck. Yeah, there's a layer of inauthenticity, I think, around that. Shrouding that. In some ways, I've been feeling less authentic the past couple days, or past week, maybe. Yeah. Which I don't know, maybe is just this old self trying to come through. There is a tension there between this old self and this other version of me that is trying to emerge. There's a fear there on top of that of who's going to win that fight. Yeah, and I can feel this tension in my stomach now as I say that. Tightness there, heaviness. The pressure in the chest is lifted slightly. It's interesting how that lifted a little bit. Now it's more centered in the stomach. They say you have to die to the old version of yourself to be reborn. It's not one of those things. It's not like in parts therapy where you can befriend this version of yourself and bring it with you. In theory, it's like it's a version of yourself that has to actually die to make way for this new version. And I think I've been bouncing back and forth between this, dancing at the edge of this sort of death within myself. Yeah, I wish I could say more about that. I think that might be it for today. But thanks for listening, and I will probably make some more videos here this coming week.